What's up, everybody? Welcome, in fact, to PCP Movie Night here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm your host, Rockin' Robbie Bills, and tonight we're talking about a damned classic. Tonight's PCP Movie Night is brought to you by James Donahoe. He sent me this. It was either for Christmas or for my birthday or something like that, but he knew I was a fan of three separate things. Number one, Michael Mann, the director. Number two, James Caan, the actor. Number three, Tangerine Dream, the composers of this film. Tonight we're talking about Thief, the theatrical debut of Michael Mann. And man, I cannot wait to talk about this movie. I'm a huge Michael Mann fan. I've seen every single one of his movies, except for his last two. I haven't seen Ferrari. What was the other one he did? Like Black Hat. I haven't seen that. I've seen every one of his movies, and aside from Public Enemies, I pretty much love all of them. And I think Public Enemies is okay. But man, I have never seen Thief. My first time watch. I cannot wait to unpack this film. We got a great panel of enthusiasts with us tonight, including Joe Corello. What is up, my man?
Oh, not much. Just fucking enraged with the world for not telling me about this. It's like, do you know me? Yeah. World? Like, this checks.
That's why James
literally
he's doing the Lord's work. You know,
yeah, because I mean, it's Michael Mann, it's James Caan, it's Tangerine Dream, it's neo-noir. I mean, it's like, oh, Joe, you want like a bunch of things you like in one thing?
You want a movie made for you in 1980?
Yeah, it's so like it's both deeply upsetting that none of y'all know me enough to like let me know this, but there's also this like lingering hope that adds to this too, of like there's so much more out in the world that you're just oblivious to that you're gonna love, you know. And it's nice because, like, I mean, there was maybe a moment, you know, last night where I was, you know, struggling with the constant, you know, march to the grave, and just calculating in your head how your hand gripping on life is just slowly slipping as every second goes by. But I forgot why I brought this up, but Thief is great.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. And it's a first-time watch for all of us here.
Yeah.
And this is an underappreciated movie. So not only is James doing the Lord's work, but Criterion is as well. Because they just recently, I guess a couple years ago, put out this like, I wouldn't call it a new version, but like a more accurate version of Thief. So joining us also tonight is Stu from Dr. Doom's Fan Club.
Let's get on with this big romance.
One World Under Stew is what's coming up in 2025, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for being here. You randomly picked this in a back chat on a PCP movie night because I was like, nobody's picked this movie. Nobody picked this movie because nobody knows what the hell this movie is, right? Yeah, but you said, you know what? Fuck it, Robbie. I'll be there. So
Michael Mann, for being here. Yeah, I hadn't seen it before. Divine Providence. Dude, like 2 scenes in, I was like, what is going on here? And I was, dude, by the end of it, honestly, this is like one of the best movies I've watched for a review show period. So yeah. So happy to be here. Can't wait to get into it.
And I love what you said, Joe, too, about how there's still movies out there that were made a while ago that we haven't seen. Like recently, I finally watched Cinema Paradiso, and I finally watched what is it? The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the greatest films of all time, Joe. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have. When did that come out?
Like 89. Helen Mirren, Michael Gambon. It's, dude, you gotta watch it. I don't think you'll find it streaming, but like it's so, dude, it's so. That's one of the greatest films of all time. And like,
I love Helen Mirren so much. Yeah, I love her so much. I saw Teaching Mrs. Tingle in theaters.
Oh, bro, Teaching Mrs. Tingle is a pretty good movie. It's got a great Eve 6 song on the soundtrack. But
are we ever going to get the R-rated cut of that movie?
Oh, I wish. I really wish, man. Especially 17-year-old Robbie. I really wanted that, man. Actually,
use your poll. Get that happening. Be like, come on, make it happen.
Next time I talk to C. Thomas Howell, I'll be like, hey, man, what can we do on Teaching Mrs. Tingle? And he'll be like, I had nothing to do with that movie.
How do we get the director's cut Criterion release of like?
When are we going to get to the fourth member of the panel? It's Brooks. Brooks, what's up? Brooks is here. How you doing, man? First time watch for you, man.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this movie either.
Would you call yourself a Michael Mann film at this time? This is the third Michael Mann film we've done on the show so far. The first being Manhunter, and then we did Collateral. And there's so many more. Heat, Last of the Mohicans. What else am I forgetting right now? I'm forgetting. The Insider is a underappreciated movie. I think Ali is actually pretty good. Like he did Public Enemies. What else did he do? Am I forgetting anything? No. Oh, The Keep. I like The Keep. He doesn't, but you know what? Fuck you, Michael Mann. I like The Keep. So there you go. So Brooks,
I've liked so far. Like I've liked all of his movies. He definitely has a style to him.
Yeah.
And
also
in this movie too.
The creator of Miami Vice, which that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And he did the movie. Like, can we think? Is there ever been another situation where the creator of a television show did the movie adaptation? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later. All right, let's talk about this movie, Thief. I got this Criterion Blu-ray sent to me by James Donahoe, so thank you so much. You send me a movie, we're going to cover it here on the channel. If you want to sponsor a PCP movie night, the link is in the description below. And I think I still have the link saved. Yes, I do. So now it's in the chat. So go to my Amazon wish list. It's nothing but movies. Buy a movie. Will be covered on the channel. And thank God for that, because this movie is awesome. It stars James Caan, Tuesday Weld, Robert Prosky, Willie Nelson in this movie.
Yeah.
I do. What? How have we never even heard of this just being Willie Nelson, the popular icon that he is, the pop culture icon, right? I'm going to tell you something. I agree with what Joe said, what Stu said. Fuck all of y'all for not letting me know that this movie existed. I just had no idea. I didn't know it did. It was The Keep. The Keep is what I thought was Michael Mann's first movie. He had issues with that. It kind of got pulled away from him. He's not cool with that movie. I like that movie. That's good. We got to cover that on a horror fest coming up. But man, I love me some Michael Mann. The first time I realized who Michael Mann was the movie The Insider, right? With Al Pacino and Russell Crowe, right? Yeah. About the guy who was the whistleblower for the tobacco industry back in the 90s, right? That's a really good, riveting movie that is nothing but talking that's like 3 hours long. And I was just like transfixed with that. And then I started researching it and I realized, oh man, This is the same dude that did Heat. Hell yeah. Then he go, what? He did Manhunter? Are you, because you know my pretentious, like, hipster mind. I'm the dude that likes to be like, Manhunter's better than any of the fucking Hannibal Lecter movies with Anthony Hopkins. You know, like, I'm that kind of guy. I love Manhunter. We covered Manhunter. We covered Collateral. We got to do Heat. We got to do everything. When I was a kid, I loved Miami Vice. Like, I loved Miami Vice when I was a kid. Like, it was different than most cop shows. And part of that was the music. So let's talk about this. This is what's crazy to me. This is Michael. So Michael Mann had done a made-for-TV movie right before. And then he gets this gig to make this movie. He wrote it. He directed it. It was based on a novel by a dude, but like nothing in this movie is from that novel, right? He was intrigued by this novel. What The Home Invaders, I think is what it was called. And he just developed this idea. He got James Gunn cast. He made this movie. It had like a $5.5 million budget. It made $11.5 million in 1981. It wasn't a huge success, right? It would take Michael Mann a few more years to really become the Michael Mann that we know, right? I think it was Miami Vice and Manhunter, really. But this movie is brilliant. This is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. And everything that I love about Michael Mann, right? Which is intense characters, a focus on characters, a focus on style at the same time, right? The pacing, the rhythm, the use of music, everything to me that is what I love about Michael Mann is present in his first movie, Thief. This movie is brilliant. It might be the best performance I've ever seen from James Caan. I'm absolutely blown the fuck away by Robert Prosky as Leo.
So good.
That's the Dracula television host from Gremlins 2, man. He's the ticket taker. He's the usher in Last Action
He's the
Hero.
warm grandpa. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he is in this movie until he's not.
Right.
And man, we'll get into all of that, but like, this movie's fucking brilliant. This movie is great. It's now one of my favorite movies. I'm ashamed that I've never watched this movie until yesterday. I watched it yesterday. I was in the midst of my anniversary, and I was like, yo, I gotta watch this movie. So she gave me like a 3-hour span so I could sit down and just enjoy the movie. And goddamn, I'm glad that she did that. So what the hell? This movie is amazing, y'all. I've had this movie in my possession for over a year, and I haven't watched it yet. I was waiting for this night. This movie's fucking brilliant. Like, what the fuck? Has Michael Mann made less than a 4 you dig movie? No. And most of them are 5. I think this movie's great. If you've never seen it, if you're like us, watch the movie. We're about to tell you why.
It's on YouTube
great.
for free, y'all.
It is on, yeah. Somebody also did the Lord's work, and they put the whole movie up there for free, I noticed, right? But
yeah.
One thing that's interesting is that in the Criterion release, there's a bluish tone across the whole film that's not in the early like VHS and DVD releases. But we know that Criterion doesn't do anything without like the right motivation and the right people behind it, right? And the right approvals. So I'm pretty sure that this is the version we're meant to see. I fucking loved it. I'm sure this is the transfer that's on Tubi. I don't know, but we'll find out. Joe, Thief, what do you think overall? You out there in the chat, join us. What do you think?
So this past week has been an embarrassment of riches film-wise that I've enjoyed. I did go to see Nas Veratu in theaters and enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
Nice.
It was so good. It is an inverse of the Herzog version, whereas the Herzog Nosferatu goes for a more humanizing effect. Like, there are moments in that movie you almost feel sorry for Nosferatu. Like, he's played as this very pathetic, lonely, like, still lethal, but like, character.
Almost in a way.
Yeah, whereas this version he is a malevolent force of nature. He is the Black Death personified. It's what a brilliant choice. If you didn't like it, you're stupid. You're a stupid person.
Joe, I love how you're turning your overall thoughts in this movie that you said you were ashamed that you had never seen before. Really, I mean, those were my words,
Yeah.
but
No,
you've turned your opening thoughts into a review of Nosferatu. That's awesome. I like
yeah,
that.
absolutely. See, and in addition to that, I have watched just this week, in the past week rather, so like, for the past 7-8 days, Kurosawa's, I'm gonna butcher, Ikaru or Ikaru, yeah, I watched that. I watched multiple Fritz Lang movies, including Fury, You Only Live Once, and Ministry of Fear, all of which are excellent. I watched what was it? Out of the Past, the Robert Mitchum movie.
Oh, I have that on DVD. Yeah, the noir movie, right?
Which is an inverse of Casablanca. Because Casablanca is a story about the only way to save yourself is by escape, is by you have to get out of your situation. It's the only way you'll make it, and the clock's ticking there. Whereas Out of the Past is there is no, you can't go anywhere. Like you can't escape. You've been locked in for longer than you know, and that is, and you may forget you're locked in, but you're always locked in, which applies to Thief.
By the way, the next X-Men comic you read is going to really suck, man. So
noted. I also watched Double Indemnity last night, and I am saying this because, first off, I just want people to know I have impeccable taste, and then to put the fine point on this, I watched all of those movies, and Thief might be the best of those movies I watched.
Jesus. What's really cool is that you watched all of those movies. You have impeccable taste, but a year ago you were here talking about Police Academy, the franchise. So that's what I really love about you.
I love that. I still remember things where I was like, 5's actually better than I think people give it credit for. I think a lot of that stuff worked. Having the old guys kind of like a Leslie Nielsen character, B for B, like going through that. I'm like talking about like Double Indemnity and stuff like that, like Barbara Stanwyck and or like Robert Mitchum's like defining role in really. He brought out cynicism in the noir genre more than just about anybody, and yeah, they're doing.
But you said, right? Yeah.
It might be. Like, I'd really have to rack my brain, but there's no way it's not at minimum the second or third best, like, out of all of those. And these are all arguably top shelf movies. Every one of them. And yeah, it's that fucking good.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. And it's new to all of us, which is crazy.
Yeah. What the oh my god.
Nobody was shut up about French Connection when I was a kid, but nobody ever mentioned Thief. You know what I'm saying? Like, where were y'all for that? Like, I love French Connection. I'm not trying to say anything, right? But like,
no, absolutely. We all talked about it here on this channel. People should go watch it too afterwards.
Yeah,
but
we did. And judging by the numbers in the chat right now, most people don't know what the fuck this movie is. Watch.
I was gonna say, I was like, because I have the comments open on the side, and I'm like, I'm on fucking fire, and like fucking nobody. Like,
speaking of being on fire, but nobody's there, Stu, what do you think about Thief, my man?
Yeah, dude, I loved it. I completely agree with what you said about James Caan's best performance. I think by a long shot. It was great hearing him talk about kind of learning the part and actually being able to crack safes. And I just like, I love how realistic to life it was. It felt such a great Chicago movie as well. And yeah, man, the way it was shot, the music was incredible. It was, you know, some of the storyline with the waitress and stuff felt a little forced, but there
That
was
might be
some,
a bit problematic today.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But
he
it,
literally
like-
yanked her out of the fucking club and like punches people in the face that are trying to stop him and shit.
but that's also like it's incredible.
That's who he
It's
is.
fucking
Like, that's the
incredible.
character.
but
Yeah.
we get the diner scene after it, which is a definite payoff. You know what I mean? But it
Mhm.
flowed so well, and it felt like, yeah, it definitely felt like Mann was super obsessive about it. I know they had like 18-hour shoots for this thing, and you know, it was exhausting, but I think it definitely pays off in the final product, and it feels so well rehearsed and lived in. It feels like a subject matter that he's really familiar with, and yeah, dude. I love the dialogue of it. Like you said, like Prosky is, or what's the actor's name? Leo, the crime boss or whatever. Dude,
Yeah.
the way he completely transforms is magnetic, and yeah,
Robert
there's just so many.
Prosky, that's his name.
Yeah, so many great cameos, but yeah, it was incredible, man. Start to finish, I was blown away, and really upset that I hadn't seen it before, but so glad I have now. So
I'm also really shocked that I didn't know this was Jim Belushi's film debut, right? You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Like that's a nice little bit of trivia that somebody should have told one of the four of us at some point in the last 40 something years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Brooks, though, the very discerning critic here on PCP Movie Night, what did you think about Thief?
I like this movie, but it wasn't what I expected. Like, cause when it starts out, it seems like it's going to be a heist movie, but it's really not. And like, the heist is in it. It's like I'm watching the whole movie. I'm just waiting for it to take the heist turn, and like when it does, like the heist is like so unimportant. Really, it's kind of like a low point in the story. Actually, the heist, because like there's no tension. Like they just do it. And then they get out. It's like watching like an instructional video on how to crack a safe.
It's because they're good at what they do, and they got a
Yeah.
magnesium fucking
Yeah.
rod, dude.
Yeah.
There's never cops
Magnetic
never come in,
drill.
they never have to rush. They just do the job, and like nothing goes wrong.
And James Caan and Michael Mann were informed by actual like thieves, right? Like
Yeah.
actual like people that went and did this shit, and they were actually in the movie, some of these people, and the cops that chased them. And what's funny is that Michael Mann switched all the characters. So anybody that was a thief in his movie that he like allowed to be in the movie played a cop, and all of the thieves played like policemen or vice versa.
Yeah,
Anyway,
wasn't the cop who pulled him over like the thief who was like a big advisor to the film or something like that?
Yeah, they apparently Michael Mann says that they went to his drop point and got all of his tools out, and he showed James how to like James Caan how to like use the tools and stuff, right? Like, and that's something in all of Michael Mann's films is like this desire for authenticity, almost in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I heard Caan say in an interview that he went to his sister's house one time and she had a floor safe she couldn't get into, and he ended up cracking it for.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hell yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry,
Love
Brooks.
it.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, cause yeah, I thought it was gonna be like your typical kind of heist movie, but it's really just a movie about a guy trying to retire, trying to like just get himself set up, and it has a badass conclusion too. I love like the finale of this movie. It's just so perfect. So yeah, I think this is a good first movie to start with, man.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay.
Oh yeah. All right. There's a great cast of characters in this film. There's some really great performances. I'm gonna be nice tonight and let y'all go first. So Joe, you were here first, so it's up to you, man. What's a performance you want to highlight?
I'll be nice, but not too nice. So I'll go with Robert Prosky.
That's being mean as fuck, dude. That's like
Yeah, no, but like, I mean, James Caan, I feel like would be being the meanest because this is absolutely, if not his, it's his best role. I mean, come on,
his
buddy.
best role, yeah.
But like with Robert Prosky, like you have your leading man in this movie, from the fucking Godfather, like a big he is it's 1981. James Caan is still a big deal, and you got him in this movie.
He's such a big deal. He doesn't even have to shave his fucking back hair, bro. Like he's like that big of a fucking deal, man.
Yeah, so he's that big of a deal, and the guy they cast to be the villain, the guy that you have to believe can fuck over James Caan or get away with it and all of that, is a stage actor who had a tiny role in one movie as like a cop or something before this, and like uncredited, like not like very tiny, and that was it. And he was like, who do you put up against James Caan that's gonna like the audience is gonna be like, ooh, like I'm scared for James Caan. And it's like, oh, that guy. Like taking that kind of risk and it paying off unbelievably well. Like they had to have known going in, like that there was going to be a little bit of a risk, even if the performance comes off well, that like audiences might not go for it, because there are points in the movie where it's like, and they do it intentionally, where it's like you're not that threatened by him, especially like early on, and he builds it up, and it's like the audience, the way the movie's structured, and it's all because of how incredible he is as an actor, is he kind of like lures you into this false sense of, you know, like, oh, false sense of comfort, and you're kind of like, James Caan's gonna like run circles around this fucking guy, like he's trying to like get James Caan, like there's no way, and like he just slowly sinks his claws in, and he does. It's just the way he executes it, the way he's also able to like. He was able to craft this character who feels so complex and real, while also feeling like a black and white threatening villain at points. But like they have like the whole scene when they're, you know, in the booth that he's talking about, like, yeah, I'll just get you, kid, whatever, like, and all this, like how powerful he is. And but that there seems to be like a genuine warmth in that scene too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like he plays like the mafia guy perfectly, like better than most. Like, you know, this is Goodfellas level street mob stuff. A decade pretty much before Goodfellas. And it's like, I don't know if Goodfellas would even exist in the way it does, executed by Scorsese the way it was, without a movie like this being like the blueprint. Because it is James Caan, you know, playing this character, but like for Robert Prosky to like, I mean, I would put him up against, you know, Paulie in a lot of those scenes. Like he's just as
the way Sorvino is in Goodfellas. Like at first, like you're like it's like this, like I don't know, it's like a siren out there, like whispering her song, and it's so enticing, and you're just like, oh yeah. And as the audience, we understand why the character made this decision. You know, like this dude was like a grandfather this entire movie. And but what's crazy, and as I was preparing for tonight, I was watching, you know, some like scenes over and over again. And earlier scenes have a new context once you see that turn, right? Once you really feel that turn, the scene where he's like, I'm like your father now. He puts his fucking foot up on James
up on the car.
Frank's car. That's a sign of power right there, right? And it should have been obvious, but man, I was right there. I was like, this dude's not going to fuck you over, Frank. You're all good, man. No, and when he turned, and then that whole scene, you just saw him from like above.
The inverted shot. Oh
my God.
The acid bath. And like, I'll whack out your whole family. People will be eating them in their wimpy burgers tomorrow and not even know it. Like, you had some cold ass lines in that monologue.
I'll have people fucking your wife in the ass tomorrow night on the street. You know, like that's fucked up, dude. Yeah. He turned so viciously, man.
It was fantastic.
It's and if you really watch him, like, you know, he's a piece of shit from the first moment you see him. Like really, when I saw this dude, I'm like, that's a bad guy. Like, he's a bad guy. Like, I know,
but you're like, no, he's the guy from Gremlins 2 and Last Action Hero.
I agree. He's got that thing where you don't know how to take him. Like, he's half warm grandpa and half like part of him looks a little sketchy. You know what I mean? But like, you want to trust him. You want to.
Whose warm grandpa doesn't seem a little sketchy on the fucking side? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, Joe, any other thoughts, man?
No, I should let other people talk. It's we're like half an hour in, and we're like,
it's because this movie is fucking worth it, and we picked up a few more viewers. If y'all haven't seen Thief, fucking watch it. What about you, Stu? What's a performance you want to highlight?
All right, I'm gonna be a dick and go James Caan, man. It was the fucking truly the role of a lifetime, just from the get go. Just he looks so. I love like his look, his big old broad shoulders and the leather jacket, just from the get go, and just the way he moves, the way he speaks in this film. So many of of course the diner monologue is legendary and one of his best scenes ever committed to film. I think one of the scenes he said he's most proud of. But I think this is a role that truly found him at the right time. Legendary bad boy. He was kind of like the last great thing before he went through a rough period in the 80s. He's got a great quote I heard when I was looking at stuff for this other stuff for this movie. He said, what did he say? Marriages are like tornadoes. There's a lot of sucking and blowing at the beginning, but by the end you've lost your house.
James Caan, man. R.I.P.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Absolutely. But just the way he jumped head first into this role and really owned it from every aspect. You talk about like great walks in a movie role. He was just so cool in this one. And yeah, he looked like he knew what he was doing the whole time. Or like there was no, I didn't doubt his authenticity for once. And whether it was his rough background, what happened in jail, his ability to crack a safe, I just thought he brought it, man, full force. So yeah,
he really did.
Role of a lifetime.
One of the best roles I've ever seen from James Caan. And I'm a big fan of Way of the Gun. I think he's great in that movie, right? So, man, and The Godfather, right? And I always for some reason think that he's in Bonnie and Clyde instead of Warren Beatty. But it's because of that scene in The Godfather. Because I just think of like somebody riddled by fucking 230 bullets. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my goodness. James Caan's great. He's great. Isn't he in The Longest Yard too? Isn't he the original or something? Am I misremembering?
Brian's song. He's amazing in. You ever seen that?
Brian's song. That's the
fucking best sports movies.
I'm sorry.
Best sports movies all time.
Yeah, he's not Burt Reynolds. He's actually sexier and cooler than Burt Reynolds, man. I fucking love him in this movie, dude. He's great, dude. And when you hear him talk about this movie, he really he's like, out of all the movies I've done, this is a dude who was in the fucking Godfather, right? Yeah. And he's like, out of all the movies I've done, this is one of the ones I'm the most proud of, right? Yeah. Really is, dude. I fucking love it. What about you, Brooks? I'm sorry, Stu. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say some of the roles he's turned down is crazy. Like Superman, Apocalypse Now. Like the list.
Could you imagine that movie? Could you imagine Superman 78 with James fucking Caan? It's like the Nick Cage.
Yeah, bro. He got offered some crazy ass roles that he turned down. The list is pretty nuts.
I would love that though. Just watching the Superman movie where he just beats everyone to death.
I don't think
Yeah.
James Caan could pull off Clark Kent. I think he could do Superman. He could pull off Clark Kent.
I love that. That's the best quote of the night. I think he could pull off Superman, but not quite Clark Kent. I don't know about that one.
I would love to see James Caan as Clark Kent constantly blowing his top.
Losing his shit. He's got a coke problem. Like he just can't.
He's always screaming at Perry.
He does the inverse for Clark Kent, where they're like, no, like Clark Kent is too despicable of a human being to do good in the world.
They're like, there's no way this asshat can be Superman.
Yeah.
He threw a fucking stick at somebody, right? That's one of my favorite bits in The Godfather, is that when his sister's husband, who's abusing her, and he goes and hunts him down, he just picks up a fucking stick or some shit and throws it at him, or a shoe. I think it was a stick. That was apparently just on the fucking spot. James Caan is this dude, y'all. We should, you know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Without a doubt.
All right, Brooks. What's left? What you got?
Well, like he's only in like a couple of scenes in this movie, but I really enjoyed his performance. It was Willie Nelson's lawyer, his defender.
Oh yeah.
His main scene is in the court. You know, when he's trying to argue to try and get Willie Nelson's character out of jail, because he's dying. But like, I think that character kind of represents kind of the attitude of your typical kind of person who works in like that kind of field of law. Is like they're so the whole system is like so oppressive. Like there's so many rules and regulations to how you're allowed to act. In a court, and when you've been doing it that long, he acts like it's not like he's half-assing it, but he's just very nonchalant about what's going to happen. It's like he knows there's already a predetermined thing, but he has to go through the motions in a way. I think it's kind of like his character's kind of saying something about our justice system and how the people that work within it kind of seem to act about it sometimes, when they're not the ones who are facing the consequences, but at the same time they have to bear witness to it at the same time.
Hell yeah. So I knew I was going to go last on the panel, so I had to stretch and what my favorite character in the film is Frank by James Caan. It's just it's his movie, it's his story. We'll get more into that, right? Second is Leo. Leo is just so. Is there a scarier fucking mobster in a movie, man? I don't know, dude. I know we see a lot of mob movies and shit that make their dudes very scary and even friendly at certain times. Man, there is something. The way that character switches from so warm to so cold so quickly, and even though there's a hint at it, and when you rewatch those scenes, you see it, right? But man, the first time you're watching it, you're that fucking sucker, right? Being pulled in, fucking just trusting this dude, right? So I had two ready to go. So I'm going to briefly mention both of them. First of all, Jim Belushi as his partner, as Frank's partner.
Nice. Yeah.
He's actually really good in this movie.
He's
and
great.
At this point, nobody would have known who he is. He doesn't have his reputation. He doesn't have his shtick or anything like that. Obviously he's John's brother, but I don't even think that would have been really super known at this time. I don't know. Maybe was he on SNL as well? I don't.
Apparently, I heard Belushi used to visit set, and they used to. Apparently, he owned some bar at the time in Chicago, and they used to hang out there after hours. But I think he was in that. Yeah, by that time, that's 81. Yeah, Belushi was probably a superstar.
Yeah, well, John was,
Yeah,
it's that's the year. What Blues Brothers is what 1980, 80, 81, something like that. It's right there. Anyway, but nobody knew who Jim was, you know. But he's playing he's the dude who gets so little character development, but just enough to show the importance of that relationship with Frank right? That's the key. To show that relationship to Frank, that when he gets it, it hurts, man. Like, it hurts. Like, we're so used to these movies. Oh, at the end of the second act, the partner, the best friend's going to get fucking killed in one of these movies, right? And when it happens, I just still was just not ready for it. So that was good. But here's the other thing. Willie Nelson. First of all, Willie Nelson's in this fucking movie.
He's got red hair too.
Yeah, and it's like, actually he's got very small roles, and he's not an actor, But man, you can tell that he gave that shit look at his eyes. Look at his eyes in those roles. You can really tell that he was giving everything he could to really get in that character. And also, I think there's a subtext of a more intimate relationship between Frank and Willie Nelson's character.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean,
because it really looked like I was like, dude, the sexual, because it was like real, like the way it was almost like alarming when he first sat down and you first get him introduced to him there in that window. Man, it's so intense. The look in his eyes towards Frank, like it's really great stuff. And like you said, you can tell he's not practicing the craft, but at the same time, he really gets across to like somebody who loves and cares for Frank. So I could definitely
I think he's a little bit more than a mentor because of circumstances.
I could definitely
I really do.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are two really great performances in this movie as well. Let's talk about the style and the structure. First of all, it's a Michael Mann film. So the style is amazing and it's impeccable. But what's crazy to me is that this is Michael Mann's first fucking film. Like, how is it already like this, right? And you watch the Criterion like documentaries, bonus features and shit. There's a really nice like half-hour interview with Michael Mann. And he's like, yeah, I wasn't a visual guy at this time. I had to learn that stuff. So I was looking at the stuff. I just wanted to portray Chicago and the city as like lights, bathing everything, a blanket of like foggy sky over everything. So it doesn't feel open if everybody feels trapped within the night, the neon lights. I wanted to see the reflections in the water on the streets, but like not just in the perspective of the streets, but how it reflects off the car hood. Now, this is something that is very typical today, right? Very typical. It wasn't so typical in 1981, right? And I know this movie is just a smidge before. It's like 18 months this movie was filmed before Blade Runner, but I heard somebody mention that this movie has to be an influence on Blade Runner. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe Ridley saw it, maybe he didn't. Sometimes I think ideas just drift from idea space at the same time, right? But Blade Runner is very reminiscent of this movie, right? Just that look in like honestly looking like these crime dramas in the 70s. We were talking about French Connection earlier, right? It doesn't have the style of this one. Those are almost too realistic. And as much as this movie, within its story, within its structure, within its style, tries and strives perfectly, I might add, to be realistic, it's also portraying this fantasy world, right? It's cinema, it's fantasy, it's something else, it's something other. And I think the cinematography, the lighting, the style of this movie is great. Structure. One thing about this movie, maybe a little bit more about the character that Tuesday is playing. Tuesday, what's her name? Meld or whatever, right? Like a little bit more there, but there was, for such a subtle movie that's like so much is given in just lines of dialogue, right? Like most people would watch this movie and not realize that he was a victim of sexual assault while he was in prison. But that's a big moment in the movie, right? But it's like, it's not something that's hammered in. It's like, Joe would say this movie doesn't treat you as the audience like a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Everything
exactly.
is there. Everything is there.
Exactly.
And there's so many levels beyond what seems to be there. Style is amazing. Structure's great. Maybe a little bit more development with the relationship, but outside of that, like, fuck, brilliant. What do you think, Joe, about the style and structure?
No, pretty similarly. I mean, it's this movie draws you in immediately because that opening sequence it is oozing with style. It might be one of the most stylized segments in the whole movie. It's like it immediately grabs your attention. Like when that camera's just like coming down in the alley and all that, and the score, we'll get to that later. But like it's just
long
like
takes, man. Those are some long takes too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would literally be impossible to tell me that Christopher Nolan didn't just lift that in some part in the beginning of The Dark Knight. Like,
this movie is
like
so
that.
influential, right? Like, it's got to be. It's not just Blade Runner. It's like dude, that's perfect. Christopher Nolan, he has to be a Michael Mann fan, right?
Yeah,
like honestly,
absolutely has to be. There's no way this didn't play some role in just about every neo-noir film since then. You know, and clearly influenced Scorsese. I mean, in mob movies from here on out, like I really don't know if Goodfellas looks the same way without a movie like Thief that's so just it just really lays it out perfectly, like all these aspects.
And Goodfellas is elevated to that level. Like, that's a joke.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's great, and like, I don't know if it's better than Goodfellas, but like, it's still like,
it doesn't
just
need
everything
narration.
about it.
It doesn't need narration.
There's definitely, there's none of that. It doesn't need narration, but like, it's a complicated story. Like, you do have to pay attention. So you wouldn't be able to do this with the new Netflix executive orders of you know, you read that article, right, where they were talking about
people watch this shit. They don't watch it, they just listen to it in the background. Right?
No, exactly. So like, it's hard to think of a bunch of people who weren't in some way influenced, I mean, by Michael Mann in general, but like in particular this movie and like a lot of 80s action movies. I mean, I think some people were also saying something along the lines of like, you know, this was like Miami Vice in a lot of ways. Like there were elements of that in there. But yeah, to see it seamlessly enters the 70s anti-hero into the 80s. I don't think there is a single better example of that in cinema probably than this movie. Like this is 80s French Connection. You know, this is very much that, just easing them right in a way that feels completely natural. And yeah, the Act 2 subversion with the like, you know, at the end of it, the heist worked out is so fucking brilliant. Just to have the audacity to do that, to like actually subvert expectations. I know that gets thrown around a lot lately.
Yeah, like the heist is not the climax of the movie, right?
Yeah. Like that was the only time I checked the time, was after when he's sitting there and he's like, perfect. It's like, this is great. And he lights the cigarette. And I checked the time because I'm like, there's no way it's been like 2 hours. And I check it, like, there's like a good amount left in this. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. Like, and sure enough, you know, there was so to style it that way, very much something he also does later in Manhunter, with the ending being like a crazy scene with a extended out song, like that's the same song for like 5 minutes or whatever it is at the end. You know, so he's not only setting it up like with the subversion and all that, but like you were alluding to in the beginning, he is already out the gate developed some of his tropes and styles and tricks he'll do in future movies that work well. It is oozing with style, and it's very well structured and paced. There's nothing really drags too much, and you can't complain because when they are sitting around talking at a diner and stuff like that, it's either really captivating or there's a very violent scene coming up. So
Yeah. Hell yeah. What about you, Stu? What do you think about style and structure? By the way, your nickname in high school was Style and Structure Stu. So
okay, yeah. I loved it. I love the establishment of Mann's aesthetic here, right? Like Joe said, like, you know, he's setting forth so many of the tricks and the tropes that we would come to know. I saw a lot of heat in this movie. Like the diner scene, the female "are you in, are you out" type of deal. You know, even when they're holding Jim Belushi hostage and getting, you know, tell him to come out or whatever. That reminded me of that scene when Val Kilmer's driving down and they got Charlize Theron's, or no, not Charlize Theron, Ashley Judd's character in Heat, and they're telling her to go out on the balcony. You know what I mean? Just little echoes of, you know, the misdirect with, you know, they think you're one place and you're doing something else. I don't know. There was a lot of, like, I guess the beginnings of some of those ideas, man. So it was amazing to see. Yeah, just from the first 10 minutes, just that first opening heist scene was so brilliantly shot. And I love how it kind of transitions from out of that into, you know, him being a businessman and looking legit and checking on all his businesses and being the boss guy. I thought it was an incredible setup and intro to the film. Structure wise, like you guys both just said, I love how it doesn't insult your intelligence, and like so many of the transitions are brilliant, and the little background things they do. I love, like, when he's got Jessie and he's showing her the house and she's looking at it, and you can just hear children in the background. It's like a small, subtle little detail, but it just does so much for that thing. She's like, "What are you looking at?" You know, and he's like, I'm looking at you. And then later on, after the adoption thing, after that all goes wrong, and like the scene after that, it's real high intense, and it's just them two out on the patio at night, you know, in front of the fire. It's just like so well done, and like it seems very natural to life's rhythms and how a couple would react to that. And I just loved how, you know, it didn't take advantage of you as a viewer in that way. I thought it was brilliant. There was so many. I mean, I could go on and on about the transitions. I thought that was, you know, the pacing and the way he really kept it tight throughout was one of the highlights for me. So style and structure, fucking amazing.
hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think?
Yeah, I do like the style. It has, like, you know, it has the neon lights, which I think like really add to a lot of the mood to the scenes. Like, you know, the score is also, of course, very good and, like, you know, works to great effect as well. But like, the thing is about this movie is, like, if I had to classify it, I'd probably say it was a crime drama. But really, the crime is not that big of an aspect of the movie, at least not as much as you would think, you know? Like I was saying, like, the heist is not really important. Like, the story is about this guy, like, he is a criminal, but, like, really, you could have him not be a criminal, and you could tell basically the same kind of story. And, you know, with just slight differences. It's just like
He could be middle management working to get that bonus and that promotion.
Yeah,
right.
like,
It could be the same bit, man.
Yeah, like the buildup is like, you know, he's been doing this for a long time, and, like, you know, he just does crimes. Like, he doesn't really, like, he doesn't do it for the love of the game. You know, he buys fancy things. He likes to buy fancy things, stuff, but, like, he doesn't really have a stake in it until he finds somebody he wants to share his life with. And now all of a sudden it's important for him. And now he feels like, you know, I gotta get my big score, and then I can live my life, you know. But, like, and, like, the lesson is, like, you know, that's not how it works, because, you know, this is not the way life is, you know. He has to learn, like, you know, there's this idea, I don't know if you've heard about it, it's called the American Dream. There's this idea that, you know, you can work hard, and, you know, you just keep to the grindstone, and, you know, save your money and everything. Like, you can be, like, you know, if not a wealthy, at least a well-off person, you know, and have, you know, be able to spend your golden years in peace and
you won't have to live in fear of rent and utilities.
Yeah. And like,
are you burying the lead right now, man? Are you jumping the gun, dude? Like, we're not
a little bit, but basically what the thing is, like, there's a story beneath the story that I think is more important, and it feels like the crime aspect of it is more of a window dressing than actual something important. But I think Michael Mann does like the crime aspect very well. I think he has a real understanding of the kind of criminal character, so I think that's why it works so well.
All right, let's talk about the music. As soon as I found out that Tangerine Dream did the score for the first Michael Mann feature film, I was like, how have I never heard of this before? And I think we were talking about Risky Business last year when this actually came up, because I was like, oh man, with this Tangerine Dream score and the way it's shot, it feels like a Michael Mann romantic comedy is what I said. Michael Mann didn't do Risky Business, but it almost feels like that's the Tom Cruise romantic comedy. Like, it seems like that's the kind of version of a sex comedy that Michael Mann would have done, right? And I love Tangerine Dream. They have done some of my favorite scores. The Legend score, I love the director's cut better, but I love the music in the theatrical cut, right? I love that Tangerine Dream music. I love their music in Near Dark. That to me is perfection. Like, that's one of my favorite film scores. I love Firestarter, right? They've done so much great work in the film industry. This movie is one of their earlier scores. I think they had done Sorcerer right before this one, but you get a lot of those, just like how I said, Michael Mann's first feature film. Everything that Michael Mann is present in this movie. Same thing about Tangerine Dream. So amazing. And the way that the music cues are picked for the moments rock. I would argue there's not a better director out there that uses music better than Michael Mann. A case can be made for people like Martin Scorsese, for instance, right? But he's using he's got a soundtrack while he's writing. Michael Mann doesn't have that, right? But the way he used and eventually he does Moby is in a lot of his movies, like Heat and Collateral and stuff like that. And there's a cinematic tone to some of these artists that Michael Mann resonates with, and it resonates with us. So I love the fucking music in this movie. It actually elevates it to me even more.
Absolutely.
Even more.
Without a doubt.
Even more.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think about the music in the film?
No, I absolutely love it. It's hard to add that much. I'll go back to some of the stuff I was saying right in the beginning, where that opening scene, the music is a big part of what makes that work too. It's also a big part of what makes the beginning of Dark Knight work. But it's
Dark Knight is basically a love letter to Thief, I think, in a way, right? Just the look and shit. Even this is a Chicago movie. It's filmed. There's a scene where they're in that I don't know, it's not a tunnel, but I guess an underpass or some shit. And I was like, oh, dude, a truck should show up right now and just flip the fuck over. Oh, fuck. Christopher Nolan just did that. He did that in The Dark Knight. There's a lot of similarities, man, between Nolan and Mann, dude. I don't think I put that together until this week, dude.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Same.
Yeah, because I mean, you get that. You get the corrupt police working with the mob and all of that in this. You get the this bizarre kind of romance in it's sort of in the same way. It's this strained kind of, when are you gonna settle down? And he has no plans of settling down, but he Bruce Wayne and Frank in this movie are very similar sort of characters of just well, I want to keep you, and we'll start a family and all that. I have no intention on stopping the stuff I'm doing, but we'll make it work, and in Dark Knight, he is like just about to end doing all this shit so he can settle down, which is what James Caan's doing in Thief. The whole point is he just wants to, I'm going to set this up and then we're good. And going back to the music, the ending, obviously I think people, point this out. It's influenced highly by, Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. But it's also just incredible. It sucks you in. Very similar to Manhunter, where the ending, the music sucks you in, and you cannot take your eyes off the ending of this movie, and the music is a big part of it. Like the music throughout the film does a great way of demanding your attention while not distracting and overwhelming the scene that it's demanding your attention on. And that is a very difficult thing to do with a score sometimes, probably more often than people would like to admit, but it does not happen here at all. It is expertly done.
Yeah, it really is. I'm glad you mentioned the Pink Floyd Comfortably Numb thing towards the end, because it's obvious that was what he was like. First of all, would Pink Floyd put their music in a movie, and how much would that cost? But it does have those vibes, that like deep bass, that boom, boom, boom.
Dude, I let the credits roll just to hear it. Like, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I let the credits roll on every Michael Mann film, dude. Like, it's crazy. And every Tangerine Dream scored film. What do you think, Stu? What do you think about the music?
I think you guys said so many brilliant things already. It was a delight right from the get-go. My favorite moment was after he realized that homeboy fucked him over after the big job. Man, there's that scene where it's the hood of the car and all the neon lights on it, and these strings with this breakbeat over it. It's just freaking glorious, man. It was just such harmony of sound and picture. I was blown away. And there was a lot of moments like that, whether it was slow and building tension or big moments like Joe said. The ending was my favorite though. That was the ending on the lawn, and as he's walking away, it's so triumphant.
And just the fucking tension, because you're like, this dude's about to be blown away at any moment, right? Yeah. And like a rare Michael Mann film where he gets away, kind of, right? Like I like that. I actually like that happy ending of this movie, almost in a way, but we'll get more to it. It's not quite a happy ending. The music is so fucking great. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So I said, just like, this is prototypical Michael Mann in his first film. Same thing with Tangerine Dream. There's a bit in the score where it's like, and it's like this, like, it's like a very 80s synth sound, right? And it's like this like cascading kind of thing. That's in fucking Near Dark. It's like literally almost the same thing, the same sound. And also like the theme of Thief sounds very similar to me to the Verve's Bittersweet Symphony, which I know they took like an orchestral version of a Rolling Stones song, right? But the da na na ba da na da da, like it's the same kind of like progression, and it's so hopeful in the beginning of this film, which is crazy. And we didn't even talk about the scene where he's talking to the dude fishing, like the homeless guy fishing, and gives him a Danish, and like you get the sense that he's done that every day. Right? Like, oh man, what a fucking he's talking about the water represents the human soul. And so watch the water at different points. When James Caan is around water, pay attention to what the water's doing and what's going on in the story.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
It's all, I'm serious as fuck, dude. Because even after he did the heist, they're at the water and they zoom into it, and it's all getting like choppy and wavy and shit. But when he first sees that movie, when he first sees the water, in the beginning,
because that's the first meeting, and then like one of the first meetings with Leo is by the waterfront.
Yep.
I like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's crazy because like
right?
Mann said he almost went with Chicago Blues for like the soundtrack. That would have been such a
he also
bad
says
choice
that
in
he
hindsight,
almost
'cause
he
this is
still
so perfect.
he still argues with that decision about like what
How?
to do. But what's crazy is
Oh,
that
it's so
Tangerine
perfect
Dream,
the
I was
way he
mentioning
went.
how like Leo goes from warm to cold, but like, and this is the thing about some of the music that I love that Michael Mann uses in everything, right? Is that because a lot of it is electronic, it feels cold. And I think he said he didn't go with blues because blues feels warm and at home. But I wanted this movie to have a distance from you, right? Like it was important to the theme, right?
Absolutely.
And he does that so much in his movies where the music is distant, cold, and mechanical, but still very emotional, right? Oh my God. Brooks, what do you think about the music? Did you notice it?
I did.
It's hard to
it.
not notice a Tangerine Dream score, bro.
Yeah. And like I think at times like it almost got to the point where it almost felt like a music video for a while, you know, like sometimes when a soundtrack is too overpowering, like, you know, it'll make a scene seem more like a music video, but it never quite gets that far. But it
It's because Michael Mann doesn't do montages. So that's why. If he did a montage, it would have felt like a music video, right?
Like definitely, like, you know, if they had done
instead
like
he's like, no, let's watch for like fucking 10 minutes as this dude cracks his fucking safe with a drill.
But yeah, like it's like I love the, you know, it does sound very like kind of Pink Floyd to me. Like I thought it kind of felt like, you know, that experimental, like, you know, 80s synth like rock music from back in the day, which of course, you know, I'm a fan of. So yeah, I really did enjoy this soundtrack. I think it's one of the best parts of the film, to be honest. Like,
I agree.
It's great.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right. We are the Pop Culture Philosophers. We're kicking off 2025 with a bang. We did the Karate Kid franchise. They're all pretty good, except for next Karate Kid, which is in the territory of Highlander 2 and Blade 3. They just don't exist to me, right? They just never need to watch those again. But now it's time, for the first time in 2025, to really dive into a movie. And I can't think of a better movie to dive into, and I can't think of a better person to kick us off than Joe Corallo. Joe, what's this movie speaking to you? What's it about?
Oh, geez. So there's a there's a lot going on here. It's a lot about how the system doesn't work for regular people. That the system doesn't work for you know, the less privileged. That it's a system designed for the privileged. Some of the worst people in this movie are the police and the politicians. And basically, the worst people are the police, politicians, and the people who already have money and are well connected. Like, because, you know, even though Leo's the mob, he's the mob in a different sort of way. He's very tied to the police. He is tied to the system. And he figured out a way to, you know, buy his way into the system, but he is part of it. And it's sort of, it's telling you that it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person, or what you do, what you contribute, what you don't contribute. What matters is how connected to the system you are. And James Caan wants none of that. So the system, regardless of good being police, bad being mob, it's one and the same to put you down and fuck you out of your money in a very literal way. And James Caan plays a character who the system failed him every step of the way. He feels cheated, not just because he, you know, you're supposed to take out of this that the time he served in prison was disproportionate to the crime, as well as, you know, Willie Nelson's character, that it's that they're being needlessly cruel to these people, and that James Caan also grew up in the foster care system, that the government failed him in both instances. Those are institutions that are designed for protection in some fashion or another. And the system failed him, which landed him in jail, where the system failed him again. So it's about, you either have to resign yourself to the system, and they tell him over and over again in less words than, or more words than this, more detail. Dude, we're all part of the system. Be a part of the system and you're fine. Do what we tell you to do for as long as we tell you to do it. Like, you can never be free, but you'll get what we're willing to give you. Like, it's done in a very literal way, but a smart way. There's no, like we said, there's no narration. It treats the audience with intelligence. Leo's very literally being like, I'm the system. Go do this for me. Here you go. What the fuck? This isn't what we agreed on. You owe me like so much more money than that. And the system being like, okay, well, too fucking bad. You just keep working for the system and we will give you what we think you should get. You will never get more than us. You will never, like, the house always wins. Like it's really a movie about that. They, even during the adoption scene, is another one. That's another instance where the system isn't interested. You're not a part of the system. If he was cooperating as part of the system, they would have let him adopt. But they go out of their way to be like, well, we don't really feel comfortable with this and that. Like, the system failed you, which led you to jail, which means that we're going to fail you too, because you're not.
I love that line of questioning when she's like, "Well, did you run the shop?" He's like, "No, lady, I was incarcerated." Like, she keeps asking him questions, thinking like he worked at the prison or something like that. It's so good.
Oh, it's great. And then on top of that, the whole bit where it's just like, oh, did you grow up in like the suburbs? Like, yeah, like, again, like, that was another thing of like, you're part of the system. It's really an anti-system sort of movie. It's all about that. The system will drive you crazy. It'll make you angry. Like, it will constantly find new ways to rebel against you if you don't work with the system. And the only way to stop it is like through like sheer force. Like, you have to be like a force of nature if you have any hope of overcoming a system that only wants you to conform to it.
Hell yeah. Very astutely put. What about you, Stu? What's this movie speaking to you?
To me, it all comes down to that conversation he had with Jesse in the diner, and about what he went through in jail. And I think ever since he got out of jail, he's been trying to escape that, right? He's built up, he went in when he was 20 and he learned, he met his guy in there and he kind of learned the craft, but he's built up, a halfway legitimate life for himself. And now he kind of wants to try to grab happiness. And I think he tries to attain it and some small form here, and be his own boss and really try to establish a happy life for himself. But then things go bad, and I think when he gets cornered, he feels no other option but to burn it all down and revert back to kind of his animalistic nature. And that situation he felt in, like when he was,
you're scary when you don't give a fuck.
Exactly. You got to get to the point where nothing means nothing. And like, he got to that point where he felt like he was about to get raped in the showers in prison type again. And like, that's the type of energy he was moving with. So it was kind of over the top and dramatic watching him torch the car business and the bar. But at the same time, I thought it was beautiful. And, sending the wife and kid away, and, I don't know. And also she had her own choices to make. And, she kind of saw, it was kind of that you saw two sides of, different people, but also they had both been through hard times and they were both making decisions. And I think ultimately it's all about trying to move on, but being shackled by the past. And I think that's ultimately, what he was. But it's also, I don't know, that ending scene, it's also triumphant. And he's walking away with the gusto in the end. So there's also
when he reveals that bulletproof vest,
yeah, right,
cheering, dude.
Exactly.
I was like, yes.
So there's some victory in that, even though he's lost everything and he's burnt it all to the ground and he's starting again.
It's a sad victory, man. It's a tragedy,
exactly.
Right? He had to like all of the dreams and humanity that he had built back up since being incarcerated. He had to burn it all down to defeat this, or he would lose it all. And that is to allude to what you're saying and what Joe's saying and what I will say and maybe Brooks too. But like, that's the sad fact of this reality, is that sometimes we have to burn away what we love to not lose it. Right. If that makes sense, but we lose it, we lose a piece of ourselves, but like, at least it's protected. Does that like
right.
it's, you know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
At
like,
least the wife and the kid aren't killed. You know what I mean? Like at least
yeah, man.
them.
Like, and
she's got what, $400,000 in 1981, which is, she's good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, hell yeah. Nicely put, Stu. What about you, Brooks? What do you think this movie's speaking to you?
Well, I think like the one aspect that really is the most important thing about the main character is he's a very independent person. Like he feels like, he wants to do things his way. Like he wants to not be beholden to anybody, and he's very competent as well. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, even when he's doing his gun stuff, like he always, like when he'll like pull a gun on somebody and then he'll like, the way he moves out and, he's always got his gun ready. He's like, he knows what he's doing. And like, it's this illusion like that we can be this independent guy, that, that nobody is ever going to be able to pull our strings. And like, throughout the movie, I think he's still under that illusion, that he can be this independent guy, that he can just, he can just get what he needs and then live his life the way he wants to. But, and when, in the end, when, that the gangster guy tells him like, no, that's not how it is. Like, I tell you what to do. And like, you don't quit until I tell you that I'm ready. I'm done using you, like, and he's the guy with the skills too. Like he's the one who knows how to crack the safe. He's the professional. He's the one who, like, he gets the rocks into the guy's hand. What does the old guy do? He doesn't do shit. He fucking does this.
Many profits off of my labor is what he said.
It's just like he's just like right? Every other like big shot. They sit around, they jerk off all the time, and they just collect the money from other people's labor. But he's also got that power too. Like he can make good on his threats. So once he learns, once that illusion is shattered for him, like that's why when he goes berserk, he's like, oh, if I can't live my life on my terms, then you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna either take this guy out or die trying. And it's kind of it's just sad, that a lot of people end up feeling that way. But that's just I believe we can change things, for the better. And I think it's only a matter of time until all of the more corrupt aspects of the systems that oppress us will eventually, fall in on themselves. But, in the meantime, this realization does make fodder for a lot of drama and tragedy, I think, it makes good art, I guess you could say. And this movie is a good example of that.
Yeah, for certain. I'll echo what everybody said. I think this movie is about the callousness that the American system drills into people in pursuit of the American dream. This movie is a working class movie. I think Matt Draper said that in one of his videos, right? This is a dude like take away the idea that thieving and prowling is like a bad thing, that it's against the law, because the point is the criminals may be doing things that are against the law, but the higher ups, including the police and officials and all the rich dudes out there, they're also not following the law. Robert Anton Wilson quoted an episode of Law and Order one time. It stuck with me. There is no law for the rich. Right? There is no law for the rich, and there is no law for those who keep the law. Right? And it's this lie that's being sold. Joe was talking about this. Brooks and Stu have alluded to this, but it's a lie that's sold to people. Put your head down, do the work. It doesn't matter if it's inside or outside the law. That's because, like, the higher ups, they don't work within the law like we do, right? Keep your head down, grind away, do your fucking work. We'll give you a fraction of what you're worth, but you'll be fucked without us. So you better have us. And the story is about a dude who has decided, this is a guy who had, at a very young age, a substantial portion of his life stolen from him. Like Joe said, doesn't seem like the sentence is very, like, well ratioed to the crime, right? He stole $40 off somebody, he gets 11 years. Well, he got more, like, less, but because of what happened, right? But, like, that's what happens in prison, right? And I can't even imagine what that's like. I had an uncle that was in prison most of the time I was, like, a child, right? And he's got horrifying stories, but what happens there? And I love the idea of Frank, James Caan's character, putting together basically this vision board in prison. This is the life I want. Nothing's going to keep me from this. He does everything he can to get it. And when it gets pulled away from him, he'd rather burn that vision and keep his independence. Right? That's crazy.
That's
right?
so true, because he
you
throws
want
it
to
out.
say something, go for it.
No, but he throws it. It's a total mood board, by the way. That's like, it's a great call. But yeah, he throws it out of the window when he's burning down the car lot. Remember, he leaves it on the ground there. So yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
He sure does. He burns everything away. And it's a tragedy, man. It's a tragedy because, like, we do comics on this channel. Everybody here is a comic book fan. This is like a Jack Kirby story, man.
Yeah.
Right? It's that kind of a story. You think, like, I'll put my head down, I'll do the work, I'll believe my employer. Turns out that's not the fucking case. Right?
Dude, Kirby would have loved Frank.
Yeah.
Kirby and Frank would have been
he might have seen it. We should check with his family, see if they if he ever watched it.
Yeah, this movie came out in 1981, so, like, he probably did see this. I hope he did. If they were punching Nazis, he'd really be into it, man. Trust me. But yeah, that, to me, that's what it is. It's that, like, pursuing this American dream within this American system produces a callousness that is necessary, and that's sad, right? Yeah. Like, you kind of, like, what's more important, the work for somebody else or the life that you're building for yourself? And to all of us, we would say the life we're building for ourselves. Well, that depends very heavily on other people's fucking visions and helping them get to their vision, right? Wage slaving, or writing a fucking comic that you don't want to write, Joe, or fucking working in, I don't know what you do, Stu, but I'm gonna pretend that you're like a factory worker, and Brooks, like, shoveling horse shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
damn, Brooks.
Fuck, dude. I don't know. What do you do, Stu? What do you do?
I'm in the kitchen. I'm a kitchen man.
You're making food, right? Yeah. For somebody else. You make better food than that asshole makes. I guarantee it. So there you go. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
He's Absolutely. Like, no, I like my boss. Don't put me under this. Anyway, that's what the movie is to me. The callousness that the American system produces in pursuit of the American dream. All right. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I remembered that without writing it down. Time to rate this bad boy. You out there on the chat. In the chat, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Thief by Michael Mann? And I think we all need to give James Donahoe a big thank you, because he's the reason we all watched this movie tonight. So thank you so much. Yeah, I invited everybody over. Joe and Stu flew in, and we all watched Thief together. It was great. We had popcorn, pizza. It was great. So much fun. It wasn't an expensive fucking movie review at all. Anyway,
No.
Joe, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Thief?
I 5. I don't think I could. Like, imagine I said all that and was like, you know, like 4.5, like this or that could have been a little better, but so I have to give that a 5. And also, I just want to put it out there, I am not opposed to being flown out to watch movies and review them. I'm just saying.
Same.
All right, we'll put that on the we'll put that on the platinum sponsor tier for PCP movie night.
if someone wants you know, me and Stu flown out there, you know, let them know. Share this video with people who might.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you are like Leo in this movie and you can like fucking do more than just send me a Blu-ray, fuck yeah, dude. I've always wanted to watch a movie in person with y'all. Now, Joe, just you know, me and you, if we watch a movie, the first movie we watch together in person has to be a movie we both seen a lot. Because there's going to be a lot of fucking back and forth, I'm sure, during that. So, hell yeah.
Like a good movie we've seen a lot, or a bad movie we've seen a lot?
I would think something like in the vein of Return of the Living Dead or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, actually, you know what we should watch first in person if we do? Suspiria.
Oh, dude, yeah. And then we could both be like, jerking each other off of like the colors in the fucking movie. Be like, dude, look at this fucking magenta. It's great. It's great.
Those are real maggots.
A perfect score from Joe. What about you, Stu? And by the way, it's the first time we watch a movie together, Stu. It needs to be a movie that I love that you've never seen, and the entire time you're watching it, I'm just watching you to see your reaction. To be like, you didn't smile, bro. Why didn't you smile in that part?
Did you love it? Did you love that part? Easy 5 for me. It was amazing. Amazing experience. A movie I instantly want to rewatch 1,000 times. And like I said, I'm mad that I haven't discovered until fucking 2025. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, highly recommended to anyone who hasn't seen it, who's a fan of Michael Mann or heist movies or James Caan or just good movies in general.
Yeah.
So,
Michael Mann, Hunter Mann, as I like to call him. So another perfect score. What about you, Brooks? What you sitting on?
Well, I really like this movie, but I'd give it a 4.5. I don't think it's quite perfect, but I feel like on the rewatch, I might actually would possibly give it a 5. But
every time Brooks is an asshole on the fucking show, he says that. He goes,
talk to your future self.
4.5, but maybe I would give it a 5 next time. You need to pull Laverno and watch this bitch twice then, man. Is what you need to do, man.
Talk to your future self right now.
I'm going to watch it like 2 times in a row.
You got time, Brooks. I know your personal life. You got time, man. Come on.
Yeah, I think like the one thing that like I think it needed a little more tension in certain parts. Like the tension doesn't really come until the end, but like when it does come to the end, like boy, that ending was really like.
The ending's badass, dude.
Yeah.
So were you not cheering for him, man? Were you not cheering? Like, did you not throw a fucking
bro? When he dropped the clip and reloaded, I was like, "Oh
my God,
my boy is cooking on the front lawn."
Yeah, and then Christian Bale's got to like in Equilibrium. He's got to like do this like fucking. It's badass, but he like does this like flip to his clips. All right, that's badass. But James Caan outdid all of that fucking fancy shit in this movie. So good. I'm right there with everybody except for bullshit artist Brooks. I'm giving it a 5. I thought about it earlier today. I was like, maybe I'll give it a 4.5 because I do think that maybe the relationship between him and his wife wasn't quite fully developed.
Right.
I don't give a shit about that because the point of the movie is not. I hate to say this. The point of the movie is not like her journey. It's the fact that she fit into his vision, right? Like his vision board, right? and what he has to do at the end. This movie's brilliant. This movie is brilliant. It's amazing. It's one of the best Michael Mann films ever, and it's his first theatrical directorial debut. 5 from me, 5 from Joe, 5 from Stu, a 4.5 from Brooks. That's a PCP average of 4.769. Let's just say that. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Movie
sure.
Yeah, that's good math, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else rated it. Nobody else rated it. Y'all haven't seen this movie. All right. We got more people watching than we did at throughout the rest of the show, which is weird. But because I guess most of them are like, it's curiosity. They're still talking about this fucking movie. I've never heard. Go watch Thief. This movie is fucking brilliant. It's great. Even Brooks, his fucking half-ass self, is going to give this a 5 you digs next time he watches it. So this is a perfect fucking film. In fact, let me go ahead and say the PCP average is 5 because I know what's going to happen in the future, Brooks. Because the future's already happened, man. You already love this movie. You don't even realize it. Anyway, all right. PCP movie night ends. We still were not as long as this movie. This movie is great. Watch Thief. It's amazing. Now, next week, we're going to do a movie that is also brought to us by a sponsor. Our buddy Easy Dick Eric from 9 Panel Grid has gifted us like a year and a half ago. And we're going to be talking about The Big Lebowski next week.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So,
you finally watched The Big Lebowski?
Oh no, I've seen The Big Lebowski. I had I never upgraded to Blu-ray because I had the DVD that was in the bowling ball. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I still have that, but he sent me the Blu-ray because it was on my wish list. So I was like, yeah, we're doing it because I got to do a Coen Brothers movie every year, right?
Yeah.
If y'all don't get the theme of January, it's like January, February is like favorite directors, right? So we did Michael Mann. Now we're doing the Coen Brothers, and we got some exciting stuff to come. All right, Joe, thank you so much for being here. Final thoughts. What you got?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, well, I do think it's important again to remind everybody that the point of this movie is that everyone's working against you. You have to work with the system if you want to get on, with your life. But you're probably never going to find happiness unless you go out on your own and make it. And you can't rely on big companies or anything like that to make it in this, in this world, even in the industry you're in. So I have a new book from Dynamite. It's I'm editing Green Hornet.
Friends of the show.
Miss Fury. Yeah. Who do allow me to pursue the American dream while editing comics. But it's really great. I really love it. I think issue 2 is a step up even. I mean, it would be weird if it wasn't, right? If I was like, well, it kind of peaks at issue 1 and then but thankfully it gets better. It just keeps getting better. So check it out. Also, you really want it because Federico Ceresa, the artist of this book, is so good. And he's absolutely getting taken from me and Alex, and other people are going to run with him. I would be shocked if he doesn't have Big 2 work within the next couple of years.
I don't like to compare artists to other artists, like being like this person is this kind of person. But if you want to do that, if you're a fan of Greg Smallwood, check it out. Real.
Yeah, it is. It's genuinely incredible stuff. He's doing great, and Leslie Atlansky is the colorist on it. Great. She's doing a really good job.
My buddy Mark Spears, so that's dope, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
I believe you talked to Mark Spears recently on this channel.
Yeah, I did for 4 hours.
So people can check that out. But check that out, and then you're gonna see me co-writing with Jordi Belair the King Arthur and the Knights of Justice, Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders free comic book day crossover. This is
Bro,
going to
that's a
be
big
my.
deal, dude. You got a free comic book day book. Have you had one of those before?
Thank you. I haven't had one yet, so I'm really excited. This
Ah.
is pretty great. So
It's your chance to get a free Joe Corallo comic.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, you have to go to one of those pirate sites for that, but you can
We're not
do it
fans
this
of
way.
that.
No, we're not.
at
Don't
all.
actually. I wasn't. Not saying do that anyway. And
Physical
volume and volume 2 of King Arthur and the Knights of Justice is out in June. So there's a bunch of Joe out in the coming months. But yeah, you can, if you can get Green Hornet already, get Green Hornet. I think some places that get their shipments from Diamond probably got it late. So
some of them haven't gotten it yet. So like,
yeah. So some places haven't gotten them yet. So yeah, get it quickly. And issue 2 is it's going to be out next month. There's going to be like 5 issues. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, FOC for number 2 was today. So
nice.
Heck yeah. It was a great book, Joe. It was a really good
awesome
work. Really good work.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Stu, love you so much. Thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
Thank you guys for having me, man. This was such a joy to experience and to watch. Busy week for me. Tomorrow night I'll be with my homie. I should have sent you thumbnails, Robbie. I'm sorry. Tomorrow night I'll be. Yeah,
you should. I don't have to message you every Monday morning.
I know. Here we are. Tomorrow night I'll be on my boy Fable's Channel 1 collection down doing Absolute Book Club. We're coupling Absolute Superman 1, 2, and 3. Then Wednesday night on my channel, Ink and Insights with my boy E, covering the past week of releases. And then Thursday night, be with the homie Robbie over on Verno's channel covering George Romero's Martin. I'm excited to watch that one for the first time as well.
Nice.
So.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
you better be better than
it's
the
good.
other asshats we've covered it with because nobody gets that movie except for me, Dylan, and Verno, and maybe Joe. Like,
it's so good. I mean, that
Romero's best film, like, right? Like, it's so
when she's in the bedroom there and it's just like, I don't know who that is. Like, holy shit, is that incredible?
Have you watched it yet, Stu?
No, sir.
Wait for that scene, man. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. It's an holy shit, is that a good scene?
What's crazy is that all these shows you mentioned, I think I have thumbnails for, and I just haven't. I just didn't download.
It's fine. It's on me. We're gonna put it.
Fuck you, Fable. That's exactly who the fuck I was talking about, by the way. Anyway, was that it, man? Was that it?
That is it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Hell yeah. Ink and Insights, Absolute Book Club. What are y'all doing? Superman this week?
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that's gonna be the roughest episode. All right. And Martin on Thursday. That's gonna be fun. Brooks, thank you so much for being here. Your partner in crime, our buddy Jelani, was unable to be here.
Yeah.
But he said that he did a solo video on the Christopher Reeve Superman figure on Go Figure Reviews. So that was cool. What's really cool is there is a Chase edition of that figure where he's in darker colors, and it's the evil Superman from part 3. And I was like, that's fucking badass. Like,
that's
we
nice.
got one of those at the shop, and I was like, fuck yeah, look that shit up on eBay before you price it. Okay. Because that's evil Superman. Anyway, Brooks, thank you so much for being here. Final thoughts. What you got coming up?
Yeah, I guess I have to mention that I do Go Figure Reviews with Jelani, and I believe what we have coming up is we're going to talk about the Jada Toys Street Fighter wave that just came out with a Cammy, DJ, Guile, and maybe White Suit Ken. But Go Figure Reviews is a thing, and you can watch it. And it's got video and it's got sound, and it's crazy, man.
That's better than
you got to check it out, bro.
That's
nuts.
better than the first 40 years of film, man.
Yeah. This YouTube thing, what is it? It's crazy. It's some kind of wizardry, bro.
Yeah, it is. All right. I really appreciate you all being here for a super fun conversation. I was like, as soon as I watched this movie, I was like, I cannot wait to talk about this one.
Yeah, same.
So very excited.
Yeah.
This was gonna be cool. Join us next week for Big Lebowski, a movie I have seen. I promise you, I've seen it multiple times. But even here's the thing: it's not only sponsored by Eric, but Easy Dick's gonna be here. That's gonna be fucking awesome. So That'll be
Wow.
even better. We're talking about the Coen brothers with Eric and company next week here on PCP. My final thoughts are this. I don't know of any clever quote from this movie, because it's not a super quotable movie, but it is. In fact, my favorite quote from the movie is, I am the one guy you do not want to fuck with, right? And the other thing, and you watch the same fucking special features I did, Stu, James Caan, his character never uses a contraction in the film. And it's very intentional. Like, he's just that kind of a dude. He is just that kind of a guy, right? He's just that kind of a dude, right? So I love that. But for my final thoughts, I'll just say, this is the 10th year of PCP. It's the year of PCPX. And if you're not down for PCPX, I got 2 words for you. What are they, Brooks?
Duck it.
You can say suck here, man.
Bucket. Fuck
Pop
it.
I love
Suck
that you
it.
said fuck it.
Suck it.
Pop
It was suck it.
Drop it. Knock
Pull
it. Anyway, PCPX, y'all. We'll see you soon. We're dipping out.